Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Flipping the Barrel podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of energy leaders across our industry and find out more about their career and their life journey. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Tien, founder and CEO of InDZone Consulting. She is dedicated to advancing safe and sustainable and affordable energy solutions. Her journey began in a remote village without electricity, instilling in her profound appreciation for the energy industry and just energy access and its role in enhancing human lives. Doe expertise was honed through roles at both E&P and service companies, including director of operations for a private operator, which we'll get into a little bit later. She has authored 2 SP papers on completions techniques, which is really awesome to see. We need more women into the technical space. And beyond that, she serves on the board of Colorado Women Oil and Gas Association. And outside of work, she likes to spend time outdoors with her husband and 3 young children. Tien, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I know when we first met and you told me your story about growing up in a small rice village in Vietnam, I just couldn't believe everything that has happened and just your beginnings to where you are today. And I think everybody's really going to appreciate what an amazing story you have. So thank you for saying yes to coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Massiel. And also Jamie, I love to being here. Thank you for having me. I love everything you two are doing with Flipping the Barrel. Huge fan. So.
Thank you so much, Tien. And I am, just as Massiel had mentioned, I'm just as excited to kind of hear your story. I didn't get a chance to hear it when you and Massiel first met. And I just reading some of the notes, I'm like in complete awe. So, as Massiel mentioned, you grew up in a very small village in central Vietnam. There was no electricity. It was very kind of like a poor place at the time, but very peaceful. So that's kind of nice in its own. But it was not easy. Like your life really depended on the crops and the weather, and sometimes eating food really depended on like, is it going to rain today? Are things going to grow? Which is not something I would say a lot of people in America have ever experienced. You had older siblings and younger ones as well. They all grew up too to be successful, which is very exhilarating and just exciting to know that even coming from like these small parts of the world, there's so much opportunity. I'd love for you to take us back and just tell us about the time growing up in that type of situation, but also those surroundings. And maybe what did you take from it that you still use today, looking back at that time, growing up in Vietnam?
Thanks, Jamie. I think you wrap it up or paint the picture perfectly. My childhood it was very poor, but it's full of love and it's very peaceful. So we have my mom and dad were farmers and they have 6 children. I was the youngest. So my first 3 brother and sister, they have to quit school in an early age so that, they went to do a lot of labor work, and it's a truly labor work so they can support mom and dad to put food on the table, for all of us. But eventually, they learn and they grow and they become very wealthy at a young age as well, like after in mid 20. So that's like my older brother and sister, and I will give you some picture of how poor we were. Um, some years that the flood came in, the hurricane came in, the rice crop didn't turn out, and at some point we did not have enough rice to make a meal for the entire families. So what ended up was, instead of make rice, we make a porridge. So you put a lot more water, so each of us can have a bowl to share. And mom and older sister usually the one eat last, so that the younger one will have some food on the table to eat first. So to all of that, but we grow up, my mom and dad taught us a lot of value about hard work, about always having each other, love each other, and how to become a wealthy, a good people. And to me, that's the most important thing, that when we grow up in that environment, and I bring it with me today as well, that I know that I am a hard worker. I value the families, and also, the honesty that I would share with everyone. And, don't let the situation define your future or who you are. and grow up in very poor environments where when we had opportunity to go to school in a trade of my brother and sister, all that I could do is do my best, study my best, and that has been my mentality. And I still, to today, I always have to put my best foot forward, being the best at what I do. I mean, give me best effort, um, and to carry on to my children as well. We are now in, I mean, in considerations, our life very abundant. My children have a really good life in comparison to my life before. So I try to teach them a value of, being appreciated, being grateful, and just have to be a hard work in life regardless.
That's what I loved about your story when I first heard it was just it's amazing to me to see how far you've come from your situation, but don't let your situation define you. And look at how successful you are. But I remember when you were telling us about your older siblings not being able to go to school so that you guys can go to school, and I was like, oh, poor them. Like they didn't get any education. They're probably not doing as well as you. And you told me they're like multimillionaires with what they did now, and I was just like, whoa. So I love those kind of stories of like you could really work hard and be smart, and life will be abundant for you no matter where you came from. So I love that all your siblings actually ended up being very successful just like yourself. um, Tell us a little bit about energy poverty, because I don't think we've had a lot of people on the podcast that can really speak to this. And the reason we want to bring it up is because we live in the Western world where you turn on a switch and you've got your lights on, you've got AC through the summer, life is great. But when it comes to oil and gas, we think it's bad, we want to remove it, we should turn off the taps, etc. And there's been a lot of, hey, energy poverty. There's millions of people in many parts of the world that do not even have access to energy. So for us to be like, we need to, slow down energy, we need more reliable and affordable energy for a lot of the rest of the world. So can you tell us a little bit about just you grew up in this and now you work in oil and gas in the US and just how important the industry is?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think I 100% agree with you that energy is so crucial for life, improve quality of life. So for my case, my village, we didn't have electricity till 1998, and that's where when I was in middle school. So my life, the entire before and after is very different. And I will give you some stats here for my village. Since electricity was introduced into the town, the life expectancy increased from 65 to 76 years old. I mean, that's a lot, right? And second of all, we was 100% agriculture dependent. So, but since after 1998 we received more investment from foreign country, so that's nowadays that's a mix between industrial and agriculture. What that means is more incomes to the residents of the village, and more income means the life quality is more improving. And this is one story I would like to share with you on this. We live nearby the coast of the country, so we're being hit very often by hurricane and probably 3 floods per year. Now, without electricity, we did not have TVs, of course, so no warning, no forecast. So when these, the Mother Nature instant hit, it caused a lot of fatality, but also hugely damage without warning. I was in there, like we got being stranded by floods. There's no food, so we have to chop the banana tree or the papaya tree out, so we can have some food to eat because we were stranded for like 3 days straight. Um, there's a helicopter come in and drop ramen noodle. So the box of ramen noodle to float, and we have to. There's no boat neither. So actually, we chop banana tree and we stick them together to make like a raft, and then so we can go on that banana raft, get these ramen noodle box. Those are real, and that's what how I grew up with in my hometown. So to that said, like many part of the world that we did not have access to energy, to electricity, and how realize how it changed the life. So I really value my work. I did not set to be in the oil and gas industry. I would say thanks to Schlumberger, they started up the journey 15 years in, and I love every part that I'm doing right now to help, produce the affordable energy. I am proud of my work, and I encourage all the energy workers, especially in oil and gas industry, to be proud of what you do. There's a lot of misconception, a lot of noise out there about what we do is harmful for the environment. Um, I kid you not, it's not true. We are producing energy safe, efficient, especially in the U.S. We are the leader in technologies. Our emission, it's just 1% of the entire world in terms of CO2 emissions. So we have a lot of work to do as industry. First of all, continue finding a way to produce, oil and gas affordable, but also sustainable and responsible, and which we have been doing. But second of all, the education piece of it is so important as well. We need to educate the people that doesn't have enough of the fact about what we do, but also the future generation, so they don't steer away from the oil and gas industry. That's so important. So I love what you and Jamie doing. I love what JP Warren is doing about kid club, and I volunteer plenty in the Denver metro areas to just educate more of the younger generation that what we're doing is so important, and the world need more energy. We're not going to need less, and oil and gas will not go away anytime soon, until that as the country that we can develop a very the new source of energy. And in my mind, nuclear will be the best next best things. Not sure where we are with that, but until we have that kind of scalable and affordable energy source, oil and gas going to be still the top tier.
So I think we need you as a spokesperson. You've said it beautifully, but it's mainly because you also experienced it. Even sharing those like imagery. I'm just thinking about when you're talking about like the banana trees and the boats and like trying to get to the ramen in the ocean. It's just like, oh my gosh, so many things that we don't think about when we start to look down upon fossil fuels, when actually fossil fuels have given us the opportunity in America to not be in the situation that you are in. So thank you for sharing that. But what's really interesting for me on your story is, you were in the situation in Vietnam, which is also a very, very competitive space. So even to like get into engineering and to even think about doing engineering, in my mind, seems very off given the situation that you were in. So I'd love to understand like what made you think about taking engineering, and not to mention you were summa cum laude, which is such an honor. But if we really put it into perspective, you were summa cum laude amongst a lot of very competitive people. So that is huge. And then you mentioned already that you worked for Schlumberger, but to even get an offer for Schlumberger at that time was like unheard of. So you were able to get an offer, become summa cum laude, and then they shipped you off to be a frac field engineer, which like, yes, you lived in the roughs of Vietnam, but like a frac field engineer amongst like 30 men, not ever, yeah, in
In
Texas.
Texas, to be
I'm like mind
precise.
blown. So I just tell us about first, like that competitive space in like when you were in school. How did you overcome that mentally? And then when you got shipped off to Texas from Vietnam, what did you think when you got onto location?
Oh man, what a journey. That's all I can say. So the competitiveness in Vietnam is always exists, and it still exists here today. Probably in a less how do I say that the intensity is less compared to where I was before. But back in the day when I first to the college, right? As I mentioned, my family was poor, and mom and dad just really struggled to even just put us to the school. So in Vietnam, the system set up like this. you have to be the top tier, which means you do the college exam, and it's a national exam, and they would scheme up the top, and whoever that was on the top, that will go into a national school with 90% funded by the government, and you only pay 10%. Um, so for me, I don't really have a choice. I have to pass the exam and to be the top in order to get into this national school, and which I did. I believe my point was 28.5 out of 30. So I passed that. And in terms of engineering, I have three choice. For the college exam, national college exam, I could be a doctor, I could be an engineer, or I could be an expat agriculture specialist. And it wasn't hard for me to choose to be an engineer. I love engineering space. I love to provide solutions, and as it wasn't a thing for female at the time, but like I was set to be do something different. So that's how I got into the national technology school, and the journey started. And that's where I got on with Schlumberger as well. Every year the university receive a certain amount of scholarship, and again, you have to be on the top in order to receive the scholarship, which I did. In third year college, I was selected to receive Schlumberger scholarship and then internship, and I think that's where my journey with Schlumberger started. Um, to I think all of this combined, to me, is I always feel like I was the luckiest one in my family to be able to go to the college. So therefore, I have to do my part, which is do my best and to be to study and to pass the exam, and just give my best, because that's what I can have in my control. Um, the journey from Vietnam to the U.S. was, I think, very amazing. I huge I was really grateful for Schlumberger for that part, because it's a turning corner of my life. It was nervous. I have exactly less than one night to make decision to leave everything in Vietnam behind and pack the bag and came to the United States. My first day when I was on location, I think as after 2 weeks of orientation with Schlumberger, I went to a location for Comstock in Louisiana. It was really hot, and it's huge. The location was middle of nowhere, and I'm taking my memory back my very first day here. Put the cover on and basically put a headset on. I couldn't understand half word of what the crew was saying. It was a lot of slang language and a lot of the frac language in oil and gas, which I was not used to at all. And in my mind went instantly like, oh man, I don't know if this was the right or not. But I can follow along, and then eventually I learned. There's a lot of big, massive piece of equipment on locations, and my first 8 months with Schlumberger was field engineer training. So on the job training, I have to be able to run every single piece of equipment, from the sand chip to the blender to the pump, how to fix the pumps, and eventually move into the frac head, which is the control van, which is the final part in graduation. And on the side of that, Schlumberger have very rigorous training program, and which any given week, if you fail the test, they ship you back home. So yeah, again, it was it's like the first 8 months is a make it or break it type of deal for any international field engineer trainees, and I made it. Was it easy? No, it was not. I mean, if I have to describe the feeling, it's three words: excitement, fear, and homesick. I was so homesick. Oh, I left everything behind, everyone behind, and literally start up from the this much of the number. Is literally zero family, zero friends, and even the language.
Wow. It's just, I thank you for bringing us back. I feel like I could see you in the field just through those 8 months of very hard work. And, I'm just trying to think here. Being a field engineer is extremely hard. And I relate to you. I was an intern for frac for the summer, and you have to have thick skin. I mean, you're the only girl on location with 30 plus guys on this big frac crew. To your point, even the language was difficult, especially in Louisiana. So adding that language barrier on top of everything you're dealing in another country by yourself with no family, that's very difficult. So just the fact that you were able to pass through that just shows just how strong you are as a person. Tell me a little bit, I think for anybody listening, what advice do you have for people who are struggling being field engineers right now because of their differences or just because they are international? Give you an example. When I was in Midland, we did get two ladies. One, I think, came from China and the other one from Indonesia. And people were not nice, I would say, in West Texas specifically. And like, if they could hear this podcast and get that help, because they actually left back. But people are mean in the oil field at times, especially when you don't look like nobody else and you're a woman. So you've got like that double, and it's I think it's really important for you to share kind of that knowledge and that advice because you were through it and you were able to make it. But I'm sure things were difficult. I'm sure people were not so friendly, especially back then.
Yes, you were right. It make it double hard when the crew doubt your capability. You are just little tiny Asian girl and said to be about to be the leader of the crew as an engineer, and it's hard to people to accept who you are in on that aspect. So for me, what helped me through all that, first of all, I work really hard and I ask a lot of questions. And it's a very honest question, just like, hey, I don't know, and you are the experts of this. Please help me, teach me. So I show the will to learn, and come to find out, people are good by nature. They are good. Yeah, they can be really roughneck, but they good. So that's on the job aspect, and I work really hard. I rig up, rig down with the crew. I learn every single piece of equipment. Be one of them. That's on the job aspect. And then on regarding to off of the work, I build relationship with the crew by asking about them, asking about their family, and that has come a long way. Once you kind of open that pathway to to people, I would say to people's heart, and they would be much more willing and open to share things with you. And actually, the crew become like my brothers. After I would say 6 months, after 6 months, they protected me like a little sister. And I mean, it takes 6 months to earn the trust, to earn the respect from the crew. So just in summary, work hard, willing, share the will to learn, know, build relationship with the crew you work with. Now, that maybe not even enough. When you're in a situation that you're on the training, you need to be breakout. That's what for my end as well. After 8 months, the crew supervisor didn't break me out because um, you're gonna laugh, because I will officially enter into the bonus pool. So they didn't want to break me out. So that was not fair. And I know that my capability, I know that I check all the mark in terms of training from on the job to the technical side as well. So at that point, I came to my FSM field service manager and say, hey, here's my situation. I'm ready to be breakout. And my manager actually went out to location with me and broke me out on locations, bypassed the traditional route that the crew supervisor will break you out. So to that said, if for who listening and you are in the field, you are in this situations, I encourage you to, first of all, learn first and also track your learning and have the strength to come visit with your manager, describe the situation with facts, and don't be afraid. You are ready to be breakout. You ready, and ask your manager to assess you instead of going to the crew, the supervisor.
That's such great advice, especially for those in the field, because I know a lot of people in the field too want to find a way to transition out at some point. And so also understanding how to talk to your supervisors in those positions and your managers and like what to ask them is so important. Kind of takes me into my next question for you, which is, you eventually got out of the field and went into sales. Also, during that time, you had your first child. So you waited until you were done with the field life, which I can only imagine because of the difficulties of that. So you waited and then you had your child. And then when you came back from maternity leave, you went into that sales role. Tell me about what you learned about yourself in that position in sales and how that also incorporated into your next venture, which was really breaking out on your own. What did you learn from just taking on that challenge? Because you did not do sales before. So it'd be great to kind of hear how you overcame those fears of your first time sales role.
Oh, thank you. Sales was fun, but also yes, from transition from the field from a technical going to sales role, it taught me a lot because why it now become a people skill, it become a building relationship skills, and what I learned from this position was again to be honest, honest with your client and stay in your client best interest on top of your Schlumberger best interest as well at the time. So it's you act like a mediator. It cannot be just one way street. And so that's what I found. It was very successful on my end. I managed 32 account at the times, and the top 3 account was the biggest one. And I have relationship with those account, the on the operator side till today. We met at Urtech last week and was like, oh hey Tien, and that was way back in 2016, 2017. What I'm telling you is what you do today is so important of what happened later in life. The circle in oil and gas is very small, so just build that goodwill, build that relationship, and the sales job was so much fun in terms of knowing the people, work with different, the technical side, different projects. And I believe that sales job with Schlumberger have paved a way for me to basically jump into the E&P side back in 2018, and even to today when I'm on my own with InDZone. The skill set, the relationship that I built back on the sales day with Schlumberger has, it's paid dividend big times.
So tell us a little bit. So you did field engineer, then you were technical sales, then you left SLB, and then you went to work for an operator. They went through an M&A. That was kind of like career timeline. And then there was a point where you decided to go on your own, take a big risk. To your point with children, I think you had 2 kids at the time. And tell me a little bit about what made you decide or know now is the time to go out on my own, because that's scary. And as someone who hasn't been an entrepreneur, let's say straight college, you went straight into corporate. How did you overcome those difficult moments of starting a business when sometimes people think it's like, oh, you started InDZone, it was successful, and now here you are? There's a lot of challenges, I'm sure, that you face as an entrepreneur and as a small business starting to build that up. Can you tell us a little bit of that, plus 2 kids and your husband and all of that?
Thank you, man. It's just been so much fun. The journey just getting more colorful and as time go. So when I make decision to went on my own, that's when I found out I was pregnant with a third kid. And of course, it wasn't easy. So today, this month mark 18 months since I found it InDZone. And that exactly the time zone I gave myself to go this adventure, make it or break it. 18 months, we will know. So end of stand today, I proudly to say yes, I made it. InDZone is growing in such a healthy pace. We make a lot of good impact to contribute into that affordable energies, and it is such a rewarding when you hear your client, the operator, including the CEO, the VP of Pop, say, Tien, thank you so much. You help us to be able to continue our program, improve the well economics, make the best child wealth. These things, it just make my heart sing so hard, and it totally pay off for the first few months where everything was so nervous, so scary. So I would take you back on the first 7 months when I just started InDZone. Yes, it was the best time in terms of the pregnancy. I was, my first trimester was really tough, lots of nausea and whatnot. But here I am, went on my own and put a lot of focus into building InDZone, building websites and just forming the strategy for the company. So I took my mind off that first trimester, and it went by so quickly. And it was very nervous because we did not know how this pregnancy will turn out given my history. So that's another plus thing as well in the journey. Now the downside is, yeah, the income was really choppy. We have little income from my end for the first few months, and it's hard to watch. Like every month, you gotta pull money saving from the bank, 3-4 grand in order to make the payment for expending for the month, right? Um, so those are the things that when you come out by your own entrepreneur, you have to prepare for those, from the financial aspect of it, from the mental aspect of it. So what helped me through these times a lot, first of all, I do a lot of meditation and yoga to calm my mind down, because it's all about the mindset, and it's a mind game when you do the entrepreneur journey. So that's very important. I do a lot of meditations when my mind in the doubt the mode. I literally just set everything down. I went to my room. I just sit down and do a long breathing meditation and just pull myself back and say, I'm doing good. I'm doing okay. Everything's okay. Everyone healthy. And, from there, I'm just, again, keep going. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I seek a lot of help and advice from the leaders in the energy space. They are graciously, provide me the direction where I should go and point me to the new contacts. Say, hey, you should contact this person. They probably will give you better advice. And actually, that's how I got my first client through, the connection through another one that I came and asked for advice. So that's how things work wonderfully. And the third one is the support, like unconditional support from my husband. He really just like, babe, you good. I got things covered. Just do what you love to do, and we okay. Um, and time and time my mind just like, okay, I think I'm gonna give up and just go find, go apply for a job. And he's like, no, you fine, just keep going. So that is like very important to have that, the partner support. So those, I think those are the three key things. And the journey so far has been amazing. I Regardless, outside of the financial aspect, I think the value that you learn, the experience you have when you went on this, for who are entrepreneurs, you have to evaluate your um, outcome differently. It's not only just financial. What you learn along the way, the relationship, the network you build, is just, yeah, it's so multiple wins.
Mm. What I really liked about some of the things you addressed is when you talked about like the meditation part and like the mental health part of it all, and also, I can totally relate with the first trimester nausea feeling and just like wanting to do something to get it off your mind, and pouring into something that you're passionate about, something that you're starting. I think really does. I mean, it totally helps with that. And a lot of times we end up getting down on ourselves and we end up laying on the couch and feeling nauseated, and then we're not actually utilizing that time for something that we could put our energy towards that will help overcome those mental feelings of exhaustion. So, it's really incredible to even think that you were building all of this while going through that. And then your partner, we hear that many times, and Massiel and I can both agree that your partner is number one, like the huge supporter. There's a topic that we did want to discuss because it's experience that unfortunately a lot of women deal with that's just not talked about enough. And you had mentioned that you have 3 children. However, you had 7 pregnancies. I could only imagine when you talk about the meditation and mental health part, what kind of toll that took on you during a time too where you were running your own company and you're an entrepreneur as well. Like, there's just so many things there. What advice do you have for those women and those families that are going through a time that's very similar? Because unfortunately, there's a lot of listeners that probably are.
Yeah. Thank you for asking this question. Is also a passion of mine to support the women that go through this thing. It is more often, it's more common than we can think about. Grow up with things, it's normal being a part of women. You marriage, you have family, and you have children. It's all going to be healthy or be perfect. Little to know that actually the road is a lot. Is much rougher than anyone could imagine. For us, we are so blessed with three healthy children. As you mentioned, the road was rough for us because in order to have three children, I had seven pregnancies, and through all that time, it was heartbroken. It was very 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 sad times. Though the key thing for those many of us, we don't talk about it. We're trying to bury it because the experience is so painful. Um, in reality, it is unhealthy. So what advice I would give to women who going through this? First, if you just recently have miscarriage or have a stillborn, my heart goes to you. Is yeah, it's very painful. It's so sad. But find time for yourselves and find that stillness and forgiveness as well. But also just give you the time to breathe, give you time to get your strength back, and also share your feeling, your emotion with your loved ones. If you have other children, let them know about situation. When they are old enough to comprehend. For us, we share the news with our 6 years old boys. When our 25-month old, sorry, yeah, 25 weeks old didn't make it. And so for to know that celebrate the life of the children that um, they not exist. However, they were there at some point. So to all of that, I would say just open your heart. Don't close your heart ever on this instant, because just imagine just like a river. If you dammed up the river, eventually the water gonna break out and become uncontrolled, and that's gonna be your state. The emotion is gonna be along the way in your life if you keep dammed up these instant. So open it is hard. It's gonna rip your heart, but gonna rip one and they're gonna heal up. Time will heal, and just lean on your loved one for these for these time. Um, the two will pass, and time will heal everything. Now for who has been trying and having difficulty with trying to having pregnant children, uh, my advice to you is de-stress, 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 because the stress is actually the number one cause that for you to having difficulty of having children. For my case, it's really helped me when I went through the meditation journey. I do yoga, and I letting go a lot of different things in my life and just become more, go with the flow of life. And we have, our second baby was miracle, and our third baby even more miracle for my conditions. Um, so just keep trying and knowing that your body is more than capable of having children and have a healthy pregnancy. You just have to trust your body and just don't be too stressful about things.
Thank you so much for being open to sharing this publicly, as I know that could be very difficult to talk about. So thank you for talking about it, because it's such an important topic that I don't think enough women talk about. And so just the fact that you're opening up, I'm sure a lot of women can feel good about their situation because they see someone who's been through it and now is on the other side. And so to end the podcast, even though we can continue for 3 hours to just talk about your amazing journey and just all your lessons learned, is it's a quote that you wrote in your InDZone letter in March of 2022, and I kind of want to just write it out, say it out loud, and then I want you to talk a little bit about it, as this is something that's really big into a lot of people's minds, especially lately. I think we're all trying to figure out what this is. And so you wrote, "The purpose of your life is to find your purposes and give your whole heart and attention to it." Can you tell us a little bit about just how you find your purpose, and which are at the end of the day the key to happiness and fulfillment? Because I think when you are living your purpose, you are happy and you're fulfilled, and I think that's something that we're all thriving to get. So please tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing this up. This one is stick in my heart, and this in the letter that I wrote to my in the zone audience back in March 2023, because I've been there, go through the emotion rolling coaster from the family aspect, but also from the career aspect of things. I would tell you this, and you will agree with me. Most of us going through our day in a struggle of some sort, whether or not it's finance, it's health, it's family, it's careers, and our happiness is very conditioning. If something happened and it's what I expected, and I will be happy. But most of the time, is things not happen to the way you expected, especially when it's outside your control. So you're not happy, you feel huge amount of anxiety, and we going through the days like that. And I say most of us, okay, for most of the day, and it's not a healthy way to live through life. So for me, the journey of finding the purpose started when the company went through the M&A. I mean, we know the change coming. My mind started, really jiggling, like, oh, what I'm doing now. When we make decision that we're not going forward to Houston because Denver's home, and it's like I'm off the train. And there's a lot of my day. Some day, it could be up high. Some days really low, and I feel the huge amount of basically unhealthiness go through my day like that. So along the way, I seek out to my friends, and here's are the few books that I can list to you. It really build the framework for you to go through, find your strength, and find your passions, and also to build your life through that. And it really takes time. And the books are the first one they call Designing Your Life. It were written by two professional at Stanford University, Bill Burnett and Dave Evan. Very, very beneficial for professional careers, and go through to take a look, see, am I enjoying what I'm doing or not? Is this fit with my strength and passion? Am I feeling love? Am I feeling health? Am I feeling what I'm doing really bring the value, and just put that framework forward. This is the work that the book that you need to work on. I spent 3 months in this book and do the homework, and it's huge payoff for me. And that's how I actually build my framework to started in the zone as well. The second book, and you're gonna like it, it's called You Are Badass. It's written by Jen Sincero. I love her. It's a lot of foul language, but it's so funny to read and just incredible. The third one, and this is the book that I listened to date, probably to the 14 times. I don't remember. Whenever my mind, in doubt, I will listen to this book again. It's called Living from a Place of Surrender. It's written by Michael A. Singers. I highly recommend it, and it's helped us so much to go through the journey when we lost a child. But also, like my husband and I, we keep revisit this, because thing with the meditation journey is not a one day thing. It's not a 1 year thing. It's a lifelong journey where you constantly, continue to letting go and find yourself in a happy place. So to that end, I'm really grateful for the support of the people surrounding my life. I am so proud of what I'm building in the zone today, to the energy, to help the operator to produce the affordable energies, and everything else. I hope, I wish I can do more with the time respect of things. I love my children. I'm in a good place.
I I mean, I don't know a better way to close the podcast, but Tien, I'm so impressed by you in so many ways, and so inspired by just hearing your entire background from where you grew up in Vietnam in this small countryside, poor village, sometimes even have food on the table. You got out of that situation by education and being the top of your class in a very competitive space. Made it to Texas, a frac engineer, just like mind blown. And then worked your way up to now, starting your own business and a successful business at that. And let's not forget to mention, the unfortunate happenings during the time we were trying to have your children. Blessed to have 3, as you mentioned, but just, such a struggle during some of those periods of time in your life. And you're sitting here smiling and full of energy and vibrant. And so I know none of that weighed down on you. And I'm so happy to be able to, we are so happy to be able to share this story on the podcast. And thank you for being so vulnerable and opening up on such sensitive topics. So thank you again for sharing your journey and your story today.
Oh, thank you so much, Jamie and Massiel. I love it. I appreciate you to have me in the podcast and just to share a story. If my story can, help one woman just to make their day feel better and think about how it's going to change my day, my life to be feel more happy, feel more fulfilled. And then I am grateful. And I think we all are. It's such a wonderful life.
Thank you, Tien. And if you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, which we know you want to, please subscribe, leave a rating, a review. It means so much to us. And to stay up to date on all things FTB and behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at Flipping the Barrel and, of course, our LinkedIn at Flipping the Barrel. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode.